Oh, thank you very much. I've been asked to talk about the changing industry. We've already heard quite a lot about the changing industry, so don't worry, I won't say too much. And then how things are changing at National Grid. And then I thought I might just talk about questions I have about the future, things that, as a relative newcomer to the industry, and by the way, I am recognizing that and my knees are quaking because I'm talking to you who will know much more than I do about the industry. Questions I have about the future and how we move forward. So that's a picture that you're all very familiar with. That's the sort of old world, the existing system. Linear, pretty slow-paced, a lot of network planning, a lot of network management, not very complex. And then I asked my people to put together a new slide, much more complex. You already see the differences. I think the big difference down there is the stuff behind the meter, the storage and solar panels. That's very obvious. But there's change across that picture that brings excitements but challenges. My colleagues in the system operator say that the way we balance the network has already changed forever and will continue to change. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. We know that costs are also increasing. And yet there are real opportunities from the National Infrastructure Commission talking about saving $8 billion for consumers from getting the most out of demand flexibility, interconnectors, and storage. Interconnect is something we think about very much, of course, today. All the work that we do forecasting demand says, of course, that for 2030 and then 2050, we need to see huge increases in generation from those decarbonized methods, about 3 times if we're to hit the targets for 2050. Solar and storage as part of the generation mix are huge. You know the statistics, you've seen them often. What I thought was interesting is the extent to which in the UK we're far ahead of where the rest of the world is. National Grid has a business in the US, so I'm going to use US statistics to compare with. And it's about half of what we have done if you take it on a population or an industrial basis. The amount of solar and storage that we've already got installed versus the solar and storage in the US. That's a huge opportunity for our businesses in the UK to expand into the US. But it's also evident that our system is that much more complex. It's quite easy for us to talk about complex systems and changing systems in the UK. We're used to it. But we are far ahead of others, and we should be pleased with where we've got to, I think. But I think we're also only just beginning to change. It means we've got to change at National Grid. You're quite used to us probably as big transmission business, pretty slow in operation. Some of the customers I met very early on told me that they had a pretty clear view that we needed to change. So I'm aware of the changes that are going on. The most obvious, of course, are in the roles of the system operator. I don't know if you saw the article in The Guardian and then our tweet at the weekend that showed that on Saturday, it was the first day when we'd had demand in the afternoon being less than in the evening. That's a pretty big change in the way that our networks are managed. I came to this job from a job in railways, and I was quite used to standing in control rooms in the urgency of a peak period, thinking about how we get trains in and out of constrained stations. And I thought, it can't be nearly that complicated. How wrong I was. I spent about 2 weeks ago, I spent a night in the control room over the peak with the controllers. Either they fixed it, so it looked really complicated that day, and I saw the minute-by-minute intervention, or it really is like that. I'm kind of hoping it really wasn't a fix. It is very variable, and one day does not look like the next day. And that's a big challenge. It's a big computing challenge for us, but it's a big people challenge. Cordy is going to talk more about that this afternoon. Cordy O'Hara runs the system operator for us, but I just thought I'd mention a couple of things that are going on. There's one around a consultation from Ofgem about the future of the system operator, proposing that they are legally separated within the National Grid group Got to separate the license. We have an 800-page license for National Grid electricity transmission. So the lawyers are very excited, lots of work for them. But a real challenge about how to do that right so that the transparency that's associated with this separation does give the industry what it needs and gives people confidence that the conflicts of interest that are perceived really aren't there and the system operator can continue. Lots of work has to go on to do that separation by April 2019. We will be updating the market as we go, and in particular in a year's time. And I'm really hoping that we can show great progress, not least because of the uncertainty for our people and for the industry. And as we all know, uncertainty isn't great for individuals or for investment. The other things that are going on in the system operator are an increase in the number and type of roles that they do, and increasing use of technology. So just next month, we will actually turn on the scheduling part of our new electronic balancing system. It's a big step forward from where we've been. You've probably read that we've been working with DeepMind, who are now part of the Google group. They do advanced intelligence, basically, which I'm not sure I completely understood. I got the linear program, and then they said something else, but I wasn't quite sure where they went. But what they do is take data and help us to predict forwards. They went to Google first. They met them first by going to say, we can really help you with your data centers. We can reduce your power consumption. And the Google engineers said, no, we've looked at that. We know we're on top of our game. You can't. And they said, well, look, just give us a try. We might be able to, and wouldn't that be good? So they did. And they reduced their power consumption in their data centers by 40%. Google were quite pleased. In fact, they bought the company. So we want to find out whether there are any things they can do for us to make that kind of same step change. The SO has 4 new roles, which is probably worth talking about. Flexibility, helping improve the flexible nature of the market. Those new tools will help with that. Facilitating network competition, the things they do on the future energy scenarios and on network output assessments, those issues really help there. Giving some more whole system thinking. For example, we'll convene some seminars and discussions and help Ofgem understand the implications of their targeted charging review. And the 4th one, creating a level playing field. I'm very aware that our website has deficiencies, and my customers have told me that regularly. Those sorts of things will really help, actually, to get information to people that they can use. Second area of change in National Grid is around our networks and the way we think about our customers. Our purpose is to bring energy to life, which means we own quite a lot of transmission networks. People don't really talk about them, but we own the transmission network in electricity and in gas, electricity in England and in gas across the country. I quite like that. We're undersung. We don't talk about ourselves very much because there isn't any point in what we do for just the transmission networks. It's only for taking energy to life, to what people want to do with it, to turn the lights on, to use your computer, to keep people alive. Those sorts of things. It's derived demand. It is important, though, that we're reliable. All of the things we've talked about the development of these really quite innovative things, require a reliable backbone. You know what it's like if your back's hurting. It doesn't really get your body moving. And we need to make that happen. I'm very aware, though, as that backbone, we're also monopolists. And that doesn't mean that we've been really used to working with our customers particularly well. We haven't necessarily thought very much about efficiency or innovation. So we're doing quite a lot on that. And I think we will do more. I hope you'll see us do more, thinking about giving people choice, just as we have with the creation of the competition that led to the T-pylon, which is a completely different structure of pylons for the country, probably will be first used on the connection to Hinkley Point. We've also thought about efficiency. We've come up with a completely different way of replacing our circuit breakers. We've moved from helicopters to drones. We've also innovated. We've got a new technology. In fact, I think it was being tested today, which checks the integrity of our pipelines under pressure rather than having to depressurize them first. So some big changes in the way we operate our systems. And then our customers. I've told you that customers have given me some quite direct feedback. They have very different views from mine often, and in particular about the importance of a transmission network in the future and how we might pay for it. It was quite nice to hear Vincent say that it is important to think about the way we charge for it, but I don't think that that is necessarily agreed across the industry. Frankly, I'm not sure that matters, but what I do think matters now is that customers are happy with the services we are providing at this point, and that I understand what they want from us. So we've introduced the Net Promoter Score, and I've asked a number of people to respond to us about what they think. Would they recommend us? Indeed, you may already have had such an invitation, and if you're giving us feedback, thank you very much. Some of you have said, "Ooh, I don't understand that. How could I say whether or not I would recommend you because you're a monopoly?" I don't have much choice. I think the answer is kind of look ahead, think about the fact that competition is coming, and think in other industries and compare us. If you would recommend us, if there was competition, that would help me to understand whether or not you think we're doing a good job. So please keep giving us your feedback, it's really helpful. We're also going to review the way we process some things that are important for our customers. So electricity connections, disconnections from the gas network, the way we charge customers, all of those things and more, we'll review sort of end-to-end process. Our guys have been great at thinking about leaning out those systems, those processes, but they haven't always done it from a customer perspective. So we're going to be looking at that differently. I said that I'd talk finally, and you'll be glad to hear you're in the home stretch now. I'm kind of warming up for the end. I'd talk finally about what I think are some challenges for the industry. I started at the beginning with things are different with a very linear mechanism and a very slow network planning into this kind of much more fast-paced, consumer-oriented world. I kind of believe that both of those things are going to have to continue in the industry. For example, it took us several years, and we're still underway with a consultation about the connection from the nuclear power station off Cumbria into the existing national grid. It's been a highly controversial consultation, but it's important to engage with the population. We need to hear what people think. We need to understand what people are willing to pay for. Are they willing to pay for the undergrounding of an electricity cable through the national park, for example? Those processes must naturally take quite a long time. You've got to engage people, you have to talk to them. At the same time, consumer activities much faster. So I'm in the world of, I think, those two kind of paces, the sort of drumbeat of the industry will continue to be different. And given I think that, I don't have all the answers because I don't think we found yet the way of making those things work. And I think that will go on to be a continuing challenge. In regulation and policy, clearly, actually, it's been a bit of a success in solar. If you look at the numbers that I had earlier and you listen to what people are saying, our solar industry has grown hugely. It did it with a bit of policy help. Solar, on the other hand, looks like it might be progressing in different ways. Sorry, storage, on the other hand, is progressing differently. It doesn't need so much help. Whether that's the case with electric vehicles, which is my next slide, I don't know. These numbers are taken from our future energy scenario work last year. We're already thinking about changing them for this year because of the growth we've seen. So from about 5 types of electric vehicles in 2010, we expect about 100 different types of electric vehicles to be on the market in 2020. These are real step changes in the way that people are using the networks. So I think our life is challenging. I think it's interesting. I'm with Vincent on it's exciting. I indeed joined the industry because I thought it was exciting. National Grid's view of what it needs to do and our vision is to exceed the expectations of our customers, our shareholders and communities today, but also to make possible the energy systems of tomorrow. And those two things are things we've got to live with, how we are today and how we make things possible for the future. As you heard, I'm focused on customers and I'm focused on efficiency. and I look forward to working with you all as we go forward. Thank you.